Okay, hello there, Aaron here. Today I'm going to start off something a little new, something I hope I'm going to keep going on with. I want to try and do a review or a book talk about books that make an impression on me each month. Every month I do a wrap up talking about books that I'd finished, and then I go on to talk about books that I want to read. And they're pretty fun. They're a good way to take stock at the end of each month or the beginning of a month. But I feel like sometimes they're not always the best way to share my impressions. You know, you can get a quick, rough impression of a book, but sometimes you want to go into a bit more detail. And so this is what these videos are going to be. I'll see if I'm able to get another one out in October, but it's just a space to talk about books that have made an impression. So I'm going to start off with Jude the Obscure by Thomas Hardy. I read this earlier this month, and it's really good. as if you need me to tell you. It's pretty dark, but really wonderful, and it resonated with me in a way that not too many books have. So I'll go through some of the the boring things, that the dates, the general plot synopsis, not too much, but just to give an idea. So the thing that blew my mind a little bit is that it's written in 1896, which shouldn't really be that surprising. I mean, it's still the Victorian period, but I know it just felt quite incredibly modern, and at least compared to Hardy's other books. Now, the year after that, 1897, Dracula comes out, and in many ways that's much more modern. But I mean, the way the railway, the kind of the role that plays in this book, and just the way people have become so used to urban life in certain ways, it's really interesting to see, just how much things were changing at that time. And it's one of the things I really love about Victorian novels, is that it was such a melting pot. So much was changing all at once, and it's just fascinating to see. But to give a rough idea of the plot, surprise, it's about a guy called Jude. We meet him as a boy, and the first thing that we see is someone leaving the village where he's growing up, and it's the village school teacher. Jude has been having evening classes with this teacher, and they have a brief conversation before he goes off, and he's going to be going off to Christminster. This is Hardy's Wessex, so it is essentially the West Country of England, but sort of reimagined, and it has all these different place names. But Christminster is essentially Oxford, and the teacher, Mr. Philliston, is going to go there. He's going to study and get his degree, and he tells Jude that if he wants to get anywhere in life, he has to study and work hard, attain his degree, and then the world is his oyster. And Jude really takes that to heart, and to be brief about it, Jude's really his core mission is to work hard, to get enough money to get a degree, and then who knows, you could, the sky's the limit. And it's essentially just about all the things that get in the way, and stop him from attaining his goals, which is pretty brutal, and it is a bit of a slog, I suppose, but it's still wonderful, and there's still highs and lows. But he keeps working, and then he meets a girl when he's in his late teens, and in many ways you could read her as the villain of the novel. She keeps coming back and getting Jude and all these messes. This character called Arabella, but she really is just trying to, she's trying to make the best of the life she has as well. And her way out is to marry. She sees Jude, she likes him, and she's set on him. She's going to get him. But they're not a terribly good match, and so it doesn't last very long. They separate, even though they're still married, and then eventually Jude finds himself in Christminster, And I'm going to just speed through the plot. He meets his cousin called Sue. She's an amazing character. She's headstrong, ahead of her time, a free thinker, but quite cautious. You can tell that, as rebellious as her thoughts might be, life still hasn't treated us, too kindly, and there are still things that confine her and keep her quite cautious. But they really are. It keeps saying over and over again that they're like two halves of the same person. Although it does feel like for a lot of the novel, Jude is kind of catching up, or he has to shake off a lot of the things that he thinks are important. And a lot of those things are these lofty ideals, about education and religion and all this stuff. And I don't think it's all that bad. It's not necessarily that he has to shake them off. I think it's more that the way he sees them, and just the way he is idealizing first the academy and then the church and all these institutions. And as the book goes on, you're just seeing more and more that they're getting in his way, they're getting in Sue's way. Whether it's the deans just being snobby about class, whether it's the way marriage and relations between men and women are seen in that period, about gossip, about just what is good conduct in society. They don't fall in line with that at all, and because they're the outsiders, they are the ones who are going to take the fall. They're the ones who are going to pay the price. And so yeah, that's a little bit vague, but that's essentially the plot. It's a bit of a downward spiral, but there are moments of hope. There are moments of happiness. There are moments of really true human togetherness and these wonderful epitomes about how to treat other people. I just said epitomes, I meant to say epiphanies. These epiphanies about how to treat other people. There's a point, again, I don't want to get into too much detail, but a character is in a marriage and he sees that to continue in the marriage is to be cruel to his wife. And it might be the first point that he really, really sees his wife as a real person, and he realises to keep her bound to him is cruel, and it's torture, and the kindest thing that he can do is to file for a divorce and to let her go. And to say that's written in 1896 alone, that's pretty scandalous, and that's kind of just the start of it. It goes to some pretty out there places, some pretty dark places as well. But I mean, yeah, the core tension here in the book is that insecurity that you're not going to be able to reach your aspirations. It's an Icarus story, but it's not the sun that's stopping you. It's just everyone around you. In some cases, it's the institutions. In some cases, it's yourself as well. But not to go too deep into the darkness and just the way this book is it just keeps spiraling down and down and down. I think what this book also captures that's kind of connected to that is a sense of restlessness, a sense of just wanting to do something. And I think I can remember feeling that in Far From the Madding Crowd as well. And it's something that Hardy really communicates quite beautifully. And it's quite hard to put into words because he doesn't really communicate it in words necessarily, or at least he doesn't define it. Instead, as the novel goes on and as the characters go through their lives, you're feeling this restlessness as well. And it's not necessarily a longing or a cloud over your head. It's something more open, and it's not freer because it's still trapping you, but just this restlessness, this feeling you have to go out and do something. And I don't know, there's something I really love about that in Thomas Hardy. As I said, I felt it in Far From the Madding Crowd. I felt it here. It really resonates with me, and it's something I really love Hardy for. It's a very relatable feeling and experience, I suppose, as is that insecurity about not being able to make anything in your life. And so this book, it's an Icarus story. It's a downward spiral. But I don't think Hardy is one of those writers who enjoys putting his characters through torture. I think he does care. There are moments where he does let the characters truly be happy, and I think he's trying to communicate. He's trying to communicate here through their suffering that he does truly want people to be happy. And it's a weird way of putting it, but I think he is trying to communicate that, and he thinks that people should be able to do what they feel is right for them, to go after their aspirations, and to do this without the shackles of societal norms, of just the institutions of the states that we wherever we find ourselves. And so it's I think still today a rather fascinating book, although there are much more doors open to us today. I think there's still ways that society and our own prejudices and just generally what people think about each other can get in the way of each of us growing personally, whether it's professionally or or academically, or whether it's personally, to grow as a person. I think there are still things that get in the way and we let get in our way, that we could do without, and it's good to see them and to see what we can do about them. So there we go. I don't want to ramble on for too much longer. That's Jude the Obscure by Thomas Hardy, and I'll try to get a bit of Carson McCullers in before the end of the month. That's all for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.